Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. You're back.
I am back.
You're back in the office. It's good to have you back. There's a different energy whenever you're not around, and I don't like it. I like it whenever you're here because it kind of helps offset the guys to gals ratio. And whenever I'm here by myself with an office full of women,
Yeah.
it's
especially because Will's been out too. So yeah, you were on your own.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in my office with the lights off, hoping that whenever people walked by, they were just like, he's not in there.
He's gone too. I do that anyways.
Yeah, you do. No, but it was good. So you were like out of town. You weren't just out of Charleston and just kind of hanging out in West Virginia. You were on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
Like as far west as you could get.
Yeah, and I'm really not much of a traveler. I don't like to fly.
Yeah.
And that flight from, I guess we went to Charlotte first to Los Angeles is one of the longer flights I've ever been on in my life.
Yeah,
and I did not like
from
it.
east to west, man. How long was the flight?
The way there, it was like 5 hours. The way back was like 4, I think.
Yeah.
But it was the scheduling of everything was crazy. Like we left Tuesday morning. We had to pick Bob up. I went with one of the Church of God church planters here in West Virginia.
Yeah.
We picked him up by our house at like 10 till 5 on Tuesday in the morning. I mean, we were in LA by 11:30 their time. So like, you lose the 3 hours. And so we thought, man, we're just going to go and see the city on Tuesday. I think we made it till about 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think we're done. Like,
yeah.
We're headed back. So we just went back to the hotel for a while. It was rough. That flight was rough. And I guess when we finally got to bed, we had been up like 18 plus hours, something like that.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah, the time change was wicked because I was like, I know I'm going to wake up on Eastern time, which would be I normally get up around 7.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew. And so went to bed that night at like clockwork, like 4:10. I was awake and I was like, oh, man, you got to be kidding. This is going to be a bad week.
Yeah.
If this is how it's starting. I'm already this tired. Now I can't. So I think I got to go back to sleep after that for like an hour. And then I was like, no, I'm on East Coast time. So I am wide awake.
Yeah. Are you still dealing with it, like coming back? Because it takes you a couple days to get used to. Yeah, because
coming back was Saturday. Our conference was over at like 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
And our flight wasn't until 11:30 Saturday night. And we were going to be flying 4+ hours home to Charlotte. Mm-hmm. But then we were going to be losing the 3 hours, or I guess jumping forward 3 hours. So we actually left LA at 11:30 Saturday night and got to Charlotte at 7:30 a.m. And I've never done one of those red eye like overnight flights. Like I think I slept for like 2 hours. So when I got home Sunday, because we had to sit at Charlotte, we ate breakfast. And then we finally got back to Charleston at 10:35.
Yeah.
And Bob rented a car in Charleston because he's from Huntington to drive himself home. And he just dropped me off on the way, and I just went straight up to bed. But I couldn't fall asleep. I was like, I should be exhausted right now.
Yeah.
And then Landon and Olivia and Megan all got home from the baseball tournament at like 3:30, and I was like, well, I guess I kind of just got to stay up now. Like,
oh, yeah.
Now that the family's home. And I felt pretty decent Sunday. Like I took Landon to GameStop. I took Olivia to Walmart. Just spending some time with them. Like felt pretty good. Got in the hot tub Sunday night to hang out for a little bit. And
Yeah. So I bet you that hot tub felt glorious.
it did. And then Monday I actually felt great. And today is the day that I've been struggling and I just noticed it's 2 nights in a row I've been up really late. And I think it's because last week I was 3 hours behind, and now I'm like, last night it was 10:30 when I tried to go to bed, and I was like wide awake.
Bro, you need to take some Benadryl. Just knock it out in one day and just get back on
Today
track.
I'm like worse than I was Sunday and Monday, it feels like.
Yeah.
So hopefully it all evens out eventually. But it was, the traveling side of it was rough. Like we did like exit row seats.
You get like extra leg room.
Yeah, but I've never seen it like this. 3 out of the 4 flights that we were on, the seats had like full-on metal sides.
All the way down. Yep.
Like all the way down. They didn't have the adjustable armrests or anything like that.
Yep.
That is absolutely miserable. Because 2 of the flights, I didn't even have anyone next to me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even enjoy the extra room because I'm like literally in this little tiny metal seat. And I was like, holy cow. So like even that was the only flight where we had the adjustable armrest in the exit row was from LA back to Charlotte, which was nice being the overnight flight. That did, because I don't recall anyone being next to me. I think I had a middle seat. I think there was someone at the window. There was a middle seat that was open. And I was on the aisle. But yeah, the seats were crazy because I was like, I thought we paid for extra room. They're like, yeah, leg room, but not wide room.
Not waist
I was
room.
like, goodness gracious, that was miserable. On those, especially the little puddle jumper flights from Charleston to Charlotte and back.
Yeah.
Those planes are already small, and then when you do those sorts of seats on them, it's like,
Yeah.
I should have went with less leg room and just had the adjustable armrest. I'd have been more comfortable because I'm short anyways.
Yeah. From my flight, whenever I went to Africa, from my flight here to Atlanta, and then whenever we landed back in the country from Atlanta to here, I had the exit row, and it was cramped for me.
Oh, they're crazy small.
Like there's not a lot of room like left to right. Like you literally.
I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And the seat belts on those too aren't like on the normal seats. Like the seat belt on these exit row ones, like were literally like this long.
Yeah.
You couldn't even actually reach it. Like it didn't even come up as high as the metal side.
No.
And I was like, who was supposed to sit in these? Like children? Like they're the only people that would actually fit this seatbelt. It was the smallest seat and seatbelt I've ever seen.
Yeah, you want an adult to be able to help people get off the plane, because that's the goal of if you get in the exit seat and you have the extra, leg room or whatever, then the goal, you're supposed to help people get off the plane before you get off. Like that's why they always come by and talk to you, but hardly anybody fits in those.
Those seats are terrible. I will not make that mistake again. There was a couple moments where I was like, okay, I think I understand why people pay the ridiculous amount for first class if they're going somewhere like long.
Oh,
like that.
I know, dude.
Because I think the 2 small flights they were offering me the week of to upgrade for like $50 per flight.
Oh, dude, you should have did it.
I should have did it. Once I saw how small those seats were, I was like, oh my gosh. And like, even on the small planes, the first class is still legit.
Oh yeah,
still legit. But like the California and back was gonna add like $500.
Oh yeah.
But honestly, if I had to do it all over again,
yeah,
I may think about it more. Like, because I'd normally just go, all right, whatever's cheapest.
Yeah.
But like, I think the older you get, the more you're like, no, actually, I think some of these business people that fly first class are not doing it for the sake of, oh, look at me,
It's not
balling.
A status thing. It's
I have to be able to function whenever I get off of this plane.
Yeah.
And sitting back there, I'm not going to get any rest. I'm going to be cramped. My legs are going to be sore.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I think that they're doing it so that they can function at a high level.
100%.
Like I've actually heard Kerry Newhoff talk about that on his leadership podcast, that he flies first class and it's not like some sort of status thing. He's like, if I'm flying somewhere to speak or to do ministry or something like that, like I got to be at my best.
Yeah.
And then on my way home, I got to be on my best when I get back too, because I got a family, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
He's like, so you got to decide if you being exhausted is worth paying the extra, whatever, to not feel like that.
Yeah.
So I swear, I think the older I get, and I'm going, I don't know, I might have to start looking into that.
For real.
Because it was a real thing, because I'm 2 days off of it now, and I feel worse today. Because I'm fairly certain I would have probably slept the whole way in one of them first class seats.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I would have got the job done. I did, but the little tiny ones, just goodness gracious, just miserable. But
so what were you doing out in California? Enlighten us a little bit about that.
Yep. So the movement that we were part of, the Church of God, Anderson, Indiana, every other year they do regional conventions instead of their big, large convention.
Yeah.
And so this is an even year, so it is the regional conventions. And they're doing 3 this year. They're doing one in L.A., they're doing one in Oklahoma City, and they're doing one in Columbus. And everyone out in L.A. was like, why did you all come to this one? And I was like, well, because it's L.A. That's why. Plus, the Church of God Convention was partnering with another conference called the Misfits Conference.
Yeah, who wants to go to Oklahoma?
It was the one that I was most interested in, the Misfits Conference, just given the sort of things that they were covering and doing, and just it made it really nice. But that's what it was. So we did a day and a half of Church of God Convention, and then I think Thursday night, all day Friday, Saturday morning, so like another day and a half to 2 days of the Misfits Conference.
Yeah.
So like Tuesday we had free time. Thursday, in between the 2 conferences changing over, we had like 5 hours of free time. And then Saturday we had free time after the conference until we went to the airport.
Yeah.
But other than that, we were in these sessions learning and hearing from speakers from around the country, and some pretty heavy hitters too. It was pretty wild. But yeah, for my I have that new job with the State Church of God. So we want to be represented at the Church of God functions, as well as I do work with church planting and things like that here in the state. So that's why I had one of our church planters with me. So I was going for state ministry purposes, as well as representing Southridge Church at the regional conventions as well.
Yeah.
So it was good time. That's what we were there for.
Be ministered to, have some, not only just representing, the West Virginia Church of God, but like you said, also Southridge as well. But also, it's important for these times for pastors to be ministered to, because so many times you hear of a lot of burnout with, ministers and pastors, clergy, whatever you want to label us as. Because we're always giving, but it's real easy to not be, depositing stuff back in, or having someone, deposit stuff into our lives. So it's super critical and crucial for pastors to be able to, just unplug, let somebody else talk, you listen, and just be fed into, poured into. So.
Yeah. So the Church of God Convention, it had, 5 or 6 different speakers, and they were all trying to do like really practical ministry type stuff. And so one of the ministries that we heard from is a guy who, he was a local church pastor, I think in Kansas City or somewhere like that. And then he felt God. He said, I've never even heard anyone do this before. He said, I just felt called to go pastor a city. Yeah. And so I left my church and just went to Kansas City, and I knew God was calling me to Kansas City. He's like, I don't know how I'm going to make money or what am I supposed to do, because I'm not in a church anymore. Yeah. And so this guy's come up with all these different ministries of how to bless a city, and one of them is called the Bless app. It's something we're going to look into, but it's really cool. My buddy Bob that was with me, he does use it at his church in Canova. And essentially what it is you download this app, you put in your location, like you can put your church location or you can put your home, and it will identify your 40 closest neighbors and give you their names. and maybe address, I don't know, but they give you their names. And every day, 5 of those names pop up on the app just for you to pray for.
That's
just
cool.
Pray for your neighbors. And then the way that it's...
And you have to have an account in the app for it to pop up.
Yep.
Cool.
So the whole process, the reason why it's called Blessed is they all stand for something. I really can't remember. The B, I think, is the prayer one, though. I don't know how they got to that.
Bless.
But it's something about praying for your neighbors. So every day, 5 of those names will pop up. So you're praying for opportunities to meet your neighbors and to talk to them. The L is listen. So you're praying for that opportunity to listen. And when you get to meet them, you're trying to listen to their story. You're asking them who they are, where they came from, just getting to know them.
Yeah.
The E is for eat. Eventually, the goal is let's try to have a meal together. That's the way the conversation can continue. The second S is for service. Okay, now that you know who they are, kind of what their needs are, find a way to serve them, mow their grass or take them a meal or whatever. The final S is for sharing. So eventually, after you've done all of that, then you're going to share your own personal story and testimony and tell them about Jesus. And as you do this, these little houses in the neighborhood, like let's say that someone walks through that whole process and they get saved, that light, their house lights up in the app.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
It's a way to systematically change a community. When you get let's say up here, if we had 100 families go, we want to do the Bless app, we would have 100 families with little lights on, and then you could just watch as a church, you can pay for like a church bundle. You can actually watch these different neighborhoods start lighting up with your people out there doing ministry every day. So that one was pretty cool. I think it's something to look at in the future. But even if I don't go that route, or if we don't go that route as a church, the point is well taken. Like, why don't we know our neighbors? Why aren't we praying for them? Why aren't we trying to make sure that we find ways to serve and share?
Yeah, I just downloaded it just because I'm like super intrigued.
It's so cool. Like it keeps metrics for you, so it'll show you how many times that you've prayed for your neighbors, how many times you've done the BLESS, and I mean it's wild. Like, and when you think of it, you go, yeah, this is what we should be doing.
Well, I mean, for some people, like, not to look at it as in a negative way, because obviously we should be doing these things and it should be second nature for us, but sometimes we do struggle with those things, you know, kind of going out of our comfort zone. Yeah. And so having something that reminds you, hey, like, take a little bit of time today to pray for your neighbors, and then giving you kind of like what we want for everybody is what those next steps are to be able to progress this relationship. And I don't want this to sound negative, but like checking a box. Yeah. Like it helps. It helps.
Does. It's look, if you're serious about reaching your neighbors, then there's nothing bad about having a plan of how to do it.
Correct.
Like, that doesn't minimize like anything. It's like the Lord led this guy to do this. So I mean it is checking a box, but checking the box in a good way. Like, man, this is going to make sure that I'm doing the stuff the Lord has called me to do. Like it's a really neat concept, whether you download the app or you just try to find your own way of doing it. That same guy did like 30 minutes of guided prayer with all of us, which is a really unique experience for a conference, because you're used to people just sitting up there talking or trying to sell you something or whatever. And he's like, you know what? Because they were trying to do practical strategies for churches. And he's like, here's one of probably the biggest thing I took away from the whole thing is the level of prayer that's going to be required to get myself personally, spiritually where God wants me to be, as well as for our church. Yeah. That was the whole drumbeat of both the conferences that just kept coming up. Like, listen, like prayer really, I know that we give lip service to it all the time, but like prayer really is the thing that unlocks all the other things.
Yeah.
And it's always tends to be the thing that we minimize because, oh, we don't have time for it, or, there's other things that need to be done. And it goes like, look, as a Christian, on your list of things that need to be done, nothing else matters if you haven't started with that. It just, like, I had kind of gotten into a rut where I had gotten away from my journaling and stuff. Mainly because every time that I wake up, I go to the gym, take the kids to school, and I get up here, and I'm already late by the time I get up here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I got stuff to do. Boom, 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 boom. And I had started to neglect my discipline but this past week I was like, I remember listening to a sermon where someone quoted one of the I think it was Charles Wesley or John Wesley or someone like that, who they used to wake up and pray for like 3 or 4 hours every morning.
Yeah.
And I'll have to paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact quote. He makes the comment about if he knew that he had a lot to do in the day, he knew that it was going to require even more prayer on the front end to get it all done, which is a different way than most of us ever think about it. Normally we're like, I've got so much to do today, I'm going to cut my prayer time short or just cut it out altogether and go and get my task done.
Or just move it at the end of the day.
And it's no, listen, if you got a lot to do, that's the day that you have to spend time in prayer.
Yeah.
Like, I've been back in the office now for 2 days. I've been in my journal both days, and it's 2 of the most productive days that I've had in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Because if I've got a lot to do, which I do have a lot to do this week, if you have a lot to do, you have to start it all with prayer. If God is calling you to something in your life, great or small, it has to start with prayer. That was one of the things. So we did a 30-minute guided prayer exercise, just a room full of people, and he's up on stage and he's praying to give us the example of what these steps look like. And then, let me see, I got it written down.
Yeah, I was about to say, did you write any of that?
Yeah, so he starts with invite. So like the first step of this guided prayer was you need to just invite the Holy Spirit and the Lord into the space. And like he took like 5 to 10 minutes on each of these. So you invite, and then the second thing he said, you thank. You start with thanksgiving. You find 5 things every day that you're thankful for. And then the third one is feel. You just talk to the Lord about how you feel. I remember I was walking through this yesterday morning in my office, and I got to that point, and I was like, I am overwhelmed and anxious because of the amount of stuff that I have to do this week. And here is the secret key to all of this. As I kept writing about how I was feeling, eventually I stopped feeling those ways. Like I felt overwhelmed and anxious at the amount of stuff. When you miss a week worth of work and family time, like you got a lot to make up.
100%.
I was feeling anxious and overwhelmed at the amount, and then you get back and you find out about all the stuff that happened the last week, and you add that to the stuff that you already missed, and you just start going, oh my gosh, this is too much. And the longer that I wrote about how I felt and was asking God to help me in those, the more those things just start like kind of fading away, and I go, oh my goodness, what this guy was talking about, because he actually said that would happen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we are told, especially in churches, that we're not supposed to feel our feelings. Your feelings are gonna. And yes, there's a time and a place where sometimes you need to go, listen, I don't care how I feel. I gotta be a big boy or big girl, go take care of business.
Yeah.
But feeling feelings is not a bad thing. But the more that you will pray about those feelings and release them over to God, the more he can actually change them. So you feel. The next thing is that you begin to just look at, what's God doing, what's God up to, different things. The next one is yield. You just start a submission to God. You go, all right, my day is yours, my life is yours. Let my mouth, my mind, my hands, my feet, everything, God, is yours. And so you just spend time yielding yourself over. God, I want your will. I don't want my will. Here's the things that are going on in my world, God. So this is your prayer request. But also going, look, I also trust, God, that you are, you know what you're doing. And so I will accept whatever it is that you bring my way or whatever. The final thing is that you want to find something to apply. after you've worked through all of this, like, all right, what is something that you can actually do as the result of all of that? And so that little prayer time right there, that little process was really interesting, because you don't get stuff like that at conferences normally.
No, I think that's incredible, actually. Just kind of like that little guideline.
Yeah.
Even if you, like, obviously just condense it down and you don't have 30 minutes, but if you can just take that time and just talk through those things, because yes, it is important to talk about how you feel and some of the stuff that you're going through, but it shows and it begins to teach you that this reliance on God is something that is just like, I'm in dire need of it. Like, I need Jesus. Like, I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
I can't overcome the things that I'm struggling with and try to fight through it, because I'm just going to continue to hold on to those things, because it's part of my nature. It's part of the way that I was, my body is the way that I was born into this sinful world.
Yeah.
And addressing and bringing to light those things that I struggle with, and just saying, God, look, hey, I need this. It's further cementing my reliance on Him, and
there was another ministry there that was sharing. Ken Love, he's the state pastor down in Florida. He's actually been here to Southridge multiple times to preach. He used to be the coach for one of our former pastors. He was sharing about his ministry, Ignite, which is all about pastoral clergy health.
Yeah.
And the main thing he kept talking about was the journal, like the journaling. And I was like, man, this just keeps coming up over and over and over. And I'm going, okay, I know exactly some of the stuff that has to take place.
Yeah.
So it was, the Church of God convention had some really useful tips and tools like that. There was someone there that was talking about social media and how to use it as a ministry. They did have a whole session on how to grow younger in your church. And I was encouraged by that, because a lot of the stuff that Hondel Smith was talking about in that is stuff that we practice pretty regularly here at Southridge. So I was really encouraged by that, and that's probably one of the reasons why we do have a younger population for a church.
Yeah.
And then the final session was very interesting. The general director of the Church of God, Jim Lyons, even though he's the general director, he was an invited speaker and given the topic, and they wanted him to talk about, he labeled the session sex ed. And he was talking about a biblical theology of sex and all of that. And it was like, okay, like it was really, if anything, if you know Jim or have seen him talk or anything, one thing's for sure, he is a very good researcher.
Yeah.
And so, like, he always digs way deeper than what your average person that will just give you simple answers to questions.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really thoughtful talk on biblical sexuality and things like that.
Did you say hi to him?
Oh, yeah, I hung out with Jim all week. Yeah, it was cool. But Hondel, that spoke the first session on Thursday morning, me and him are pretty close. He's come out and done some stuff here for me. He took a class that I used to teach for the Church of God. So we got to hang out on Thursday.
Yeah.
Went to lunch together for a couple hours, and he just spent time just ministering to me, that's just who he is.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. And so this is what was so wild. So they do this regional convention, and then they were just tying it onto an already existing event. This event was called the Misfits. It's something that Pastor Jeremy Dixon at Center of Hope in L.A. Started 3 years ago. And it is a drastically different conference than the Church of God regional convention.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, when we left, when we were at the Church of God convention, in the same room, we're just sitting in like regular chairs, and someone's just up on stage speaking.
Yeah.
We leave. We have 5 or 6 hours. We went to the beach. When we come back, they have transformed this room.
Yeah.
There's now a huge stage, like walkway coming out into the middle of the room. The lights are all down and all. I mean, when you have a church close to Hollywood, you got the production.
Oh, yeah.
So the lights are like just all over the place. They have their video screen up there with a social wall going. They've got couches and bean bags lined the front if people want to sit in those. I mean, it's a whole different feel. There's more vendors outside. There's people that out there selling like clothing, and I mean, it's just When me and Bob got back, we were like, oh my goodness, like what?
Are we in the right place?
Like this, because there wasn't a whole lot of people at the Church of God convention. There was like less than 50 people signed up for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the vast majority of Church of God folks are east.
Yeah,
so they'll be, like Oklahoma City will be huge, and Columbus will be big.
Yeah.
So there was like less than 50 people. When we get back, we went down to Venice Beach, hung out for a couple hours, then just drove the whole coast up to Manhattan Beach, which is the coast of where like we were in Inglewood for the church. So we really just had like a 15-minute drive over to Inglewood from Manhattan Beach. And we got back, it was pretty close to start time.
Yeah.
And like the whole week we had been showing up and we were just parking up front. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
When we get back this time, there's like extra signage out and we were having to park all the way in the back.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, this is going to be different, ain't it? Like this is going to have a different energy. And it's like, oh, it had a different energy. Like it was amazing. Amazing. So we showed up Thursday. We go in, this room's transformed. They do this opening number of this guy playing, you ever seen the people do drums on buckets? So he's up there doing that, and then they got someone singing. They got their musicians up there playing. I mean, it was just awesome. And then Rod Stafford from Fairfax Community Church spoke that night. 10 things that he's learned over his 37 years of ministry from the churches that he's planted. He's planted churches with Fairfax all over the world.
Yeah.
And they plant in global cities, what he calls global cities, like these cities like LA and Washington D.C. and he wants it where they're multi-ethnic, just kind of melting pot cities. That's where he feels called to. So he shared 10 lessons that he's learned over that time. I'm going to share all of them with the staff on Wednesday. I'll give you a couple. Just for this, but this is, let me see, where's it? Here it is. Like the first thing he said, there's something sacred about not giving up, like just sticking stuff out. And I was like, yeah, in a church culture right now that most pastors leave after 2 years.
Yeah.
They wonder why they don't ever catch any traction. Like it's a pretty incredible thing that here at Southridge, we have pretty long tenures for all of our staff members.
Yeah, this is the longest I've ever been at a church.
Yeah, it's
like by like a year and a half.
December 1st, I will be starting my 14th year on staff here.
Yeah.
Cheryl has been here with me
7 or 8?
No, like 11 or 12.
11 or 12.
I think 11 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Anna has been here since 17, I think. 17 or 18.
Yeah, so 7 or 8.
So she's been here 6 plus now. You've been here since 2020. You're in your 4th year.
I know, it's crazy. Like it's like I'm closer to sabbatical than I was from my hire date. That's it. Like, I'm not to say that I'm excited about sabbatical because I still got some stuff to do.
Even Jessica though, she's been here
3 years
since 21.
Yeah,
either 21 or 22. But even before that, she was a member of the church, so she's been around for a long time.
Yeah,
too. So as far as that was just one of the things he was like. There's just something sacred about not giving up and like just sticking with it. He said another one that he did. He said you got to find creative ways to fund your vision. You got to be good. Being good at only one thing is a luxury. I love that because that's what that hits really close to home to me. Because I would love to only have to do one thing.
Write sermons.
Yeah,
and speak.
And it's like that's a luxury that you don't get. You have to in ministry. You have to be able to do. That's what we brought 2 interns on over the last year, and that's one of those things that they keep remarking. They're like, we just didn't realize what all you all did. Like, it's like, yes, you're like up there preaching or playing music, but you're also like, if the trash needs taken out, you take the trash out, or if you got to fix you got to spackle a wall and paint it. You just do it. You got to figure out how to run computers and technology and all these different things. You got to, it's just, I got to run to the store and pick up,
just supplies.
Stuff for the green. It's they're just we just didn't. If you
or
just
how to
show
decorate
up,
for VBS with only a budget of a couple
$200. Figure out how to decorate a whole building for $200.
Yeah, transform 2,500 or 25,000 square feet or whatever how big this place is.
15,000.
15,000 square feet for only $200.
Yeah, it's so he was being good at only one thing is a luxury. You have to be someone that can wear a lot of hats. And I was like, yes, absolutely. So he just went through all of this stuff.
Yeah, that's good. I'm excited to hear this.
It was very, very encouraging. Again, a lot of the stuff they had host because they're in LA. They have very talented people in their church that are stand-up comedians and actors and stuff. So the two that hosted the 2 night sessions were hysterical.
We got moonshiners here in West Virginia.
Yeah, they were absolutely hysterical. And then Thursday, I'm telling you, I love Rod Stafford. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Thursday just blew my mind. The level of the people that were there. The first girl that spoke, and so the way the Misfits is, it's their Pastor Jeremy Dixon just interviewing people all day long.
Yeah.
So they're not up there giving leadership talks. He's asking them questions and they're responding. The first one, I cannot remember her name, but this lady, she was the daughter of immigrants that came here. Just real humble beginnings. Her dad actually got taken away by ICE whenever she was young. She didn't get to see him for 20 years because they were here.
Holy cow.
She was born here legally, but they were here illegally. She had this amazing story. She works now at Meta. She has worked with Airbnb. She is a criminal, or what is it? She works for discrimination cases. She's a lawyer for discrimination cases against big tech companies, and there's so much in that you go, oh my gosh. She worked for Michelle Obama. She's giving this resume, and you're like, I mean, how do you even have time to do all of this? Seriously, how do you have time? What a story from where you started. And so it was so inspiring. And then let me think, who was next? Oh, the next one, 2 actors. Derek Luke, who, if you like the Friday Night Lights movie, he's Booby Miles.
I've never seen it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm stuck in my ways whenever it comes to sports stuff, and that's not one of them that makes the list.
You'll know the name Derek Luke when you see him. You seen that guy in movies before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in, let me see. He's in Antoine Fisher. He's in Medea. Yep. He's in Glory Road, Notorious, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And this dude, now you're thinking, okay, he was in Empire. It looks like he was the principal in 13 Reasons Why.
Oh, yeah.
The Netflix thing. So he's done a lot.
Yeah.
I have this bad habit of just assuming, okay, when people that are, at his level of life talk about God or whatever, I'm like, really, bro? Is it, a genuine...
Oh, yeah.
This dude, Pastor Jeremy had all these questions that he wanted to ask him, and the other guy, his name is going to escape me, Nate something.
That's kind of how I felt initially about Russell Brand. Yeah. Whenever he was just I'm kind of starting to figure out this religious stuff, and I got my Bible, and you're like, okay, is this just a ploy or something like that? And then you continue to follow him, and then you're like, whoa. Dude just posted a video of him getting baptized by Mark Wahlberg and somebody else that was famous. That's
Here was the other one, Nate Parker.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He was just. I think he was just Red Tails.
Yeah,
was big Pride, just all kinds of stuff. So these 2 guys, they don't even get to. Pastor Jeremy's like, I had all these questions I want to ask you all, but I got to. Can we talk about what just happened backstage? And next thing you know, before they even came out, Derek Luke is so deep spiritually. he's just in the back just praying and worshiping. And him and Nate had been having this conversation the whole way to the and the Lord is literally prophesying through Derek Luke, just on the spot to Nate. Nate's up there. This man who has been on the big screen is up there crying in front of the whole room because Derek Luke is sitting there speaking to him, and then he's speaking to us, just blowing my mind because Nate is getting into these big projects. He's doing some sort of streaming service right now that he's trying to get going, and he's working on funding of it and everything. And Derek is literally just like prophesying to him about how the Lord's going to take care of his need. And the thing that blew my mind, he said, what the Lord told me is that, because he's been in a similar spot, he said, when I was in that same spot, the Lord told me I have to prophesy and speak to the devil and say, take your hands off of the resources that the Lord has intended for me. And I was like, as being at a church that struggles intensely financially, I was like, we're going to start praying that.
Yeah.
We're going to start praying that whatever God has intended to flow into this church, that it is going to be released out of the hands that are holding it back. Like, we're going to start coming against that.
Yeah.
It was just to see two guys that are like Hollywood stars.
Yeah.
Like, just up there, literally, they're praying for us. They're having a moment up there. Pastor Jeremy's going, I don't even know what's going on. Like, this was not what we planned at all right now.
Yeah.
Nate Parker said, Derek Luke is the type of person, if you call him, no matter, you might just be calling and say, hey, man, what's up? He said, as soon as you get Derek on the phone, he's going to go, hey, can we pray first? He said he's that type of person, no matter what.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow, like, there really is genuine Christians in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, it blew my mind. It was incredible.
You want to talk about being light in a dark place, too.
I know. It was unreal.
Yeah.
So you're getting to see people like that. The afternoon session was Magic Johnson's son and his wife, who run the Magic Johnson Foundation now. But the two of them have done so much. I mean, they're running businesses and they're entrepreneurs. And, like, Magic Johnson's son actually left the foundation to go do his own thing. And now he started all these other companies. And now he, like, all this stuff. And now he's come back. Now that he's kind of made it, he didn't want to just ride on coattails. He went and did his own thing.
Yeah.
And then came back the right way.
That's cool.
And then his wife is an entrepreneur. I mean, they're just sitting there, and I'm going, holy cow. Like, this is amazing. And then I am a gigantic fan of Tim Ross. Tim is probably, probably top 5 Christian podcaster in the world now, and he just started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If you have not listened to the Basement Podcast, Tim Ross is just on another plane. And he is so big. Like, such a big following. How in the world I'm in a room that literally there's less than 100 people in there, and he's in there talking to us?
Yeah.
It was special. Like, very, very special. That's all I can say. Oh, my goodness. They also had this lady in the afternoon. I think I told you about Afro Unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah. She created that clothing
She's the
company.
only Afro Unicorn is the only, what is it, black owned licensed character ever.
Oh yeah.
Like what she maybe it's female, black owned, something like that. She has this and it's like, what? She did 15 million in sales in Afro Unicorn last year.
Yeah.
She's also a real estate agent in LA. She also runs a State Farm agency.
Yeah.
And she does this. And now they're getting into, like, it just started off with shirts. They're in Walmart. They're in Target. But she talked about, they said, how did you grow this thing? Like, how did it go from this to this? She said, well, what I decided was every Saturday morning I'm going to wake up and I am going to shout out on Instagram other people's pages. Not me. I'm not going to promote myself. I'm going to actually promote other people's businesses.
Yep.
So she spends 3 hours every Saturday, I think even to this day, just getting other people's businesses blessed by her following.
That's crazy.
And as she did that, she made a name for her Afro Unicorn, and it exploded.
Yep.
Like, you can already see they just started doing children's books. You can already see the writing on the wall. There's going to be TV, and this is a single mom of 2 that the Lord, and she's a Christian. The Lord gave her something, and I mean, it's just to be in that atmosphere with people. You're like, holy cow, like,
yeah.
But yeah, listening to Tim Ross Thursday night was like a dream come true to me, just because I love him, and he was spitting so much truth. Like, I got some notes. Let me see what all stuck out. Oh, actually, I only wrote one thing. He was talking about how obedience is better than sacrifice. And, I mean, I couldn't get enough of it. And the Pastor Jeremy finished the conference Saturday morning, and he was just kind of wrapping everything up. And, man, there was just the Misfits conference, I think, is going to be something really special in the future.
Yeah. Do you think that's something that you would like for all of us to go to, like the staff here?
I think it'd be a really cool experience because it is. It's a church in Inglewood, California.
Yeah.
Different demographics than what we are used to. Different style of worship than what we are used to. Honestly, even different communication style. And it's just. But a lot of these people, Pastor Jeremy is connected to.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it's just he has these like friendships that he brings these people in. You're like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm sitting in a room with people like this.
Yeah.
It's like it really was. It was a A+. Like, it was incredible.
That's cool.
It was absolutely just life-giving in so many ways. They did stuff so well, and a lot of the people that attend that weren't from like the Church of God. They were the people from that church.
Yeah.
They were so sweet to me and Bob and the rest of us that stayed over from the convention. And yeah, it was a great week for so many reasons. But I feel so ready for the next season of ministry as the result of it. Even though the traveling side of it and everything was very exhausting, the ministry side of it was so life-giving.
Yeah.
I could see myself going back to the Misfits, even though I don't really care that much about L.A.
Yeah.
It's the second time I've kind of done the tour of L.A., and I'm like, yeah, I could do without that, to be honest. L.A.'s a little bit too expensive for my taste. Like, you can't even get, like, a fast food meal without dropping $20.
It is stupid.
Like, we went to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
I love that place.
It was fantastic, but Bob got a side of greens, literally like this, just a little tiny bowl. It was $8.50.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Every waffle was $8.50. Oh, $8.50 waffle.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
it's Roscoe's.
It was, and it was the food. The waffle was it wasn't the best chicken I've ever had. It was the best waffle I've ever had.
Yeah.
So there was one day, I think it was that day, I ate breakfast food every meal of the day, which was a dream come true.
That's that's a good day.
Because I woke up and ate breakfast at the hotel, and then we were driving around Inglewood we were going to try to go to this place that somebody told us about to get authentic Mexican style tacos.
Yeah.
Well, it was closed. So I was like, well, shoot. Now we got to find something. So we found a place called Norm's Diner.
Yeah.
It's like a big chain of diners or whatnot. Got pancakes.
Legit.
Pancakes. And then went to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle later that night and got waffles. So I had pancakes or waffles 3 times that day. So it was a good day.
Dude, if I'd have known, I would have given. I just didn't even cross my mind to even like give you like food recommendations or anything like that, because like I've with my brother used to live out there, and so I've been out there multiple times, and I should have just given you some recommendations for some like legit places to go eat at. But time for the mystery meat. Yeah. I'm glad you're back. What's a moment in your life when you felt a strong connection with your faith?
Well,
I put some serious ones in here.
You did.
Well, sometimes it didn't always have to be like. The reason I put some serious ones in here is because you were always like pouting at the ones that you were getting. So I put some serious ones in there so we can have some serious conversation every once in a while. Yeah. That's why it's called a mystery meat. It's not a mystery if you think it's just going to be some random, crazy, stupid question. It had to be more mysterious. Could be a situation that you've gone through. I'll repeat the question. What's a moment in your life when you felt a strong connection with your faith?
Did you get that from ChatGPT?
Sure did.
Yeah, I figured so. I was like, that ain't even the way that you talk.
It's not.
You don't talk like that.
It's too proper.
Yeah. I think that maybe a good example, the year between feeling called into ministry and actually coming on staff here at Southridge Church was one of those moments where it was just a deep searching season. And so it was like every Sunday I felt like I found myself up at the altar just wrestling with call to ministry while still like, hey, I just got saved, so I'm trying to like deal with my like. That was a really intense time spiritually for me, for sure.
Yeah, I understand like completely like what emotions, everything that you were going through, because whenever you make this decision to follow Christ, you're like, well, this old lifestyle that I was living is just not feasible. And so during that first year, I lost all my friends.
Yep.
I'm not going out anymore, so I'm sitting at my house bored out of my mind because I'd rather be out partying, drinking, and hanging out with my old friends and stuff. And then feeling like this call in the ministry, and I'm trying to create these habits where I'm trying to, read a scripture or two every day and try to figure out how I'm supposed to pray to God and what that looks like for me. Yeah,
it was an intense season. So I've always told everyone, like, when I got called into ministry, I was like barely saved. Like, I got saved in January of 2010, and I was interviewing at Southridge in August of 2011.
Yeah.
That's not a normal trajectory for people.
No, not at all.
And I was on staff December 1st, 2011. So before I'd even been serving the Lord 2 years, I was in ministry.
Yeah.
But even before I was formally on the staff here, I was already serving in ministry, just doing everything I could around this place.
Yeah.
But that year was like, again, it's not normal. Normally, people have been following the Lord for a decent while before they come into ministry. So they've been in the discipleship process for a little bit. I was like in the discipleship process and trying to disciple teenagers. And it was just...
Most people go through a credentialing process as well.
Yeah.
It's like some formal studies. And so, yeah.
Like I was in school for ministry, but like that was a really heavy spiritual time, that waiting period, because I was kept asking me, I'm like, all right, I told the Lord yes. Like, when am I going to get a job at a church? How do churches even come to know that I'm even called to ministry?
Yeah.
That was before I knew that it was going to work out here at Southridge. Like, I was like, am I just supposed to expect that someone's going to call me? Like, what in the world am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like anyone ever had a good answer other than, just wait on the Lord, man. Yeah, but you got to do something. Like, it would definitely be a miracle if I've not told anyone in the world that I'm called to ministry and someone just calls.
Yeah.
Other than my church here, like, so it was a heavy time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip. I'm glad you were able to be poured into. I'm glad you actually, you were able to go with someone that you knew, and be able to hang out with each other for the week. And I'm kind of interested in that Misfits one. It sounds like something that I would be really into.
For creatives, entrepreneur type people.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, good, man. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you sticking around and listening to this episode. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time, next Friday, for another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.